Joining us now is Teegee, the regional chief of the BC Assembly of First Nations. Terry, thanks for being here.
Good afternoon.
I think, top of the list for these talks, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be the pipeline and the possibility of one that the federal government has signed an MOU with the province of Alberta to try to get one to the West Coast. Give me your sense of the current appetite of that, the possibility of that happening and possibly using First Nations lands in order to do it.
Well, I think, it's about time that Prime Minister Carney and the ministers met with coastal First Nations. I believe this has been a long time coming, a request well over a year prior to the MOU that was signed with the Premier of Alberta. I think, there's also the discussion that needs to be had with the First Nations within British Columbia that perhaps, this proposed pipeline to the North Coast would transect. So we've been down this road before with the unbreached Northern Gateway pipelines, and many of those First Nations still oppose an oil pipeline transecting their territories, their respective territories. And we still live in the context of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples as federal and provincial laws. So certainly I think there needs to be more discussions, especially in regards to a major project that potentially may or may not happen.
And are these First Nations, you talk about the fact that this was a year in the making and the possibility even before the MOU that was signed with Alberta, how are residents, how are, again, Indigenous people of these First Nations feeling? Are they feeling left out, or are they, as a result of, possibly being overlooked in these conversations, not going to get on board with anything the federal government wants to do?
I think, prior to the discussions with Premier Danielle Smith on this pipe dream, I think it was really necessary to include many First Nations as we, for many, many years, hundreds if not thousands of years, are stewards of these lands. And, many of those coastal First Nations will live here long after the Carney government is in power, or the UB government. So, this is the reason why many First Nations are concerned about any development within their territories. We will have to live within these lands. These territories are part of our identity. It's responsibility to be stewards of these lands, because we'll have to live with the legacy of any development, whether it's a pipeline, a mine, or what have you. So these decisions aren't taken lightly. So I think it's really important to have early discussions and more discussions, because quite simply, this is the reason why many First Nations are concerned. And as you've seen or witnessed in December, at the AFN Special Chiefs Assembly, a resolution was passed announcing this MOU. And certainly, they can pass as many MOUs as they want, but they can't bypass decisions from First Nations peoples.
Terry Teegee, Regional Chief of the BC Assembly of First Nations, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate you taking the time.
You're welcome.